Hello there, my name is Wolfbeum and today I am going to show you how to build every tree in Minecraft, what to look out for and how to do a more creative approach. Minecraft trees do their job somehow, but with a custom tree you can add way more detail and personality. Not gonna be lying, custom trees can be quite tedious to build, but they're definitely worth it. Don't know what to put in an empty space? Some trees will do. Wanna connect your base with nature? Some greenery will do. As you can see, the goal is to give our tree a bit more shape and detail and think about how to add more to them. In this first example I'm going to show the basics of building a tree. In this example an oak tree, but the steps we will be going through are the same for every other tree too. If you're not interested in this part, you might wanna skip a bit forward. So obviously we are going to use oak logs and leaves, but also spruce fences because the color fits better than oak fences would. The first thing we're going to do is to build up a stem and make sure that it is a bit crooked and bent and not completely straight. This will give the tree character and make it unique, while also adding interest to it. We are also going to split the stem to at least 3 to 4 big branches on the top. Make sure to spread them out so that when you add the smaller branches there are no huge gaps. Then we want to make the bottom area a bit thicker, so just place a line of blocks here going up, some blocks here and there. You don't have to think too much about it all, just go for it and take a step back now and then to have a look. You want to make sure it's looking good from every side. So these are the bigger branches and we are going to use the fences to make the smaller ones. Again, make sure they occasionally go up and down or to the sides. Look where huge gaps are and focus on adding a branch going through there, but leave some space between them because when you imagine them covered with leaves, we don't want to have a solid mess. Instead it is supposed to look loose and airy. You don't have to attach all smaller branches to the bigger ones, as that will make it easier for that airy look. Don't worry about them floating around, we will cover them with leaves later. You can also add some on the top to make the tree look bigger. When your tree is looking like something like this and you think you might have enough branches, it is time to add the leaves in. For this, just start to place them on the fences so that you can get a feeling where you want to still add some more branches. Adding the leaves is the most time-consuming part, but it is what it is. Make sure to also go in the tree to get all those missing sides. This is now starting to look like a tree, but we are still going to add a lot more leaves to it. The leaves following the sides of the fences is creating a rather repetitive pattern. With this you can really go for it and not think about it. You can still see a lot of the fences, so make sure to cover them. Also add leaves to the top and the bottom of the branches. As you can see, we can get a glimpse at the sky when we look up, which is what we are going for. Taking a step back, I think this tree needs a few more branches, especially in this area, so it is no problem to add them now. Lastly, I'm going to add a few really small branches in the bottom area. To finish the tree off, you can add a few blocks that are just connected at the diagonal sides. This will make your tree extra fluffy. While this is a finished oak tree in the summer, you can also build variants for the other seasons, though you might need to improvise a bit as Minecraft has just green leaf blocks. If you want an autumn tree, you can use wool, terracotta or concrete for a vibrant color. Think about whether you want to use more yellow, orange, red or brownish colors. In this example I'm going for more subtle colors. Obviously you want to add not as many leaves as in the summer versions, and not just because half of them have fallen down. While the leaf blocks are kinda translucent, these are not, so it would look very solid and we want to avoid that. You even might want to add in some colored glass blocks. Winter is a bit easier. This time you want to make sure to connect all branches to the tree, because this time you indeed will see them float around as there's nothing to cover them up with. Also add some more fences to the tips to make the tree look bigger, and you also want to add more branches generally. Sadly, we can't place snow on the fences, so if you want to have a tree in a snowy landscape you have to use snow blocks, and while they are quite big it still looks good. The smaller your tree is, the more difficult it is to play around with the blocks, but in a bigger tree this will look even better. Spring is similar to summer, though not all leaves grew yet, so make sure to just add a few. For a different type of tree you might even want to add in some flowering azalea leaves, but unfortunately oak trees don't blossom. So as you can see, you can build with all different kinds of blocks. What will add realism to your tree is to think about how trees grow in different contexts. When you pay attention to trees in real life, you will notice most trees are crooked and bent in some form, and just very few trees are completely straight. Plants always grow in the direction of light, so if you were to build a forest, the trees at the edge also have branches at the bottom, and also most of them grow out of the forest, while the trees just a few steps in most of the time don't. And if a tree next to a path or street has branches in the bottom, they usually get cut off so that no one is hitting their heads. Taking this all into consideration, imagine planting a tree next to a wall or something like that. It would grow most of its branches on the opposite side of the wall because there's light, so the whole tree is looking a bit uneven. What I recommend doing is the next time you look at a tree, think about its shape. This will help you a lot with building. Also, using reference images is no shame. They can give you a lot of inspiration to also learn details on how different species of trees look like. Some trees' stems split in the bottom like sometimes birch, acacia or azalea trees. Some trees just have one stem like spruce trees, and some trees are more complex than others. So what you want to do if you want to build one specific tree is to figure out its details, the shape of the stem, its color and other specific things. Then you would start to build it according to those. For example, with this birch tree, you can see it can have kind of like more than one stem and its leaves are hanging down, so you do that. The stem is white with dark brown to black stripes and the leaves are green and autumn yellow. Of course, this will take some practice, but making a tree just a bit bigger and adding more leaves already does a lot. The steps for each tree are the same. Build the stem, the bigger branches, then the smaller ones, and then the leaves, so go for it. Interestingly enough, you can do the exact opposite too. Once you understand the basics, you can build every tree no matter how fantastical it is. What I showed you until now is for a more realistic approach, but now we will get a bit more creative. But you can take inspiration from all these trees, like their shapes or colors. You don't have to follow the steps I showed you before. Try different blocks and techniques. After all, building in Minecraft is about creativity. When you see a certain aspect in a build you like, feel free to use it to create your own. Try using your favorite colors and think outside the box. Feel free to use uncommon building blocks like pumpkins and stone. The first example I'm giving you is a spruce tree, not too different than this one, but still a bit different. For this one I am using the stripped log variant, though I stay with the spruce leaves. Also I will throw in some spruce stairs and slabs for more texture. Again I built the stem up first and I wanted to go a bit sideways for more interesting shape. Before I added the leaves, I add all the other details. I place the stairs and slabs at some spots that I think are fitting, and I also fill in these gaps with fences. This time I won't build the smaller branches like I did before, and if you wonder how I built the leaves of the spruce tree before, I placed fences as a branch going down and then added the leaves to it. I imagine the leaves in this one to spiral down, so I start at the top to get a feeling for it, then I go around in cycles and place blocks where I want the leaves to be. I make sure I add more leaves the closer I get to the bottom, and again I don't think about it too much. Adding the leaves without fences as branches is a lot faster, in this design it is coming together great. For the next one I want to go bigger and also use different blocks for the stem because I want it to be white and have red leaves. The stem is supposed to be shaped a bit like a snake, so the first thing you want to do when building bigger organic shapes is to build up one line. Don't worry if you don't get the exact shape you want in the first try, you can always redo it at this stage. The inspiration for this one I have from some bonsai trees and the key element really is that snake-like stem. But what you want to avoid is to go perfectly diagonal, since this is looking a bit off. Instead go up or to the side 2 or 3 blocks occasionally. When I have this done, I thicken out the stem. So I line out half of a circle where I want the base to be, and then I start connecting it together. This part might be a bit tricky if you've never done it before, but just take a step now and then back to have a look and at blocks where they are still missing. I create a gradient using birch logs, diorite, calcite and quartz to add shading and texture to the stem, and I'm more focused on how it is looking from a distance since it is a really big tree. And because it is so big, it also needs a few more branches at the top. Because of the size, I don't have to use fences or walls as smaller branches, as these full blocks are fitting. But I have to add quite a lot more to fill in the empty space. For the leaves I am using nether wart blocks as they have a really vibrant red color, and sadly I found no really fitting blocks for variation, though I will add some glass blocks later. You can either place everything by hand, which is taking a while, or you might want to consider using World Edit. It is a bit tricky to get into, but once you know the basics it's incredibly useful in creative mode. I just place spheres and replace them with a mixture of nether wart blocks as before and air. To finish it off I go around and add a few blocks here and there, and I also add some blocks at the bottom. Coming up with your own design might be a bit tricky, but I believe you can do it. You might want to try out a special color scheme that you have in mind, find a uniquely shaped tree you want to take elements from and have fun. I really hope you found a useful thing in this video, so until the next time, goodbye!